Please tell me you caught that documentary last night. Please. If you didn't watch it, go watch it now and then come back because we got to talk. Welcome back to my channel. I am the Painted Fool, and this space is for you. Welcome to the bonfire, guys. Welcome to the grounds of fertility. Here we are teachable, and we apply the things that we learn in our lives, and we share the results. We share the things that we learn in our lives, lessons. We call those results gifts, and we pass them around. We also have elders, and we are not wandering lone wolves in these streets without any guidance. We apply the guidance of the elders for a smooth and prosperous life. That is the only life elders want us to have, and if they don't, they're not elders. If you don't know who I am a full-time artist. I teach art to the little ones and the adults. I am a children's book illustrator. I am the creator and producer of the YouTube art series, The Painted Fool's Paint House. It is for children about ages 1 to 7, and it's a colorful show geared for the imagination, teaching little ones how to make their art come to life and how it can serve themselves and others. I love event photography, I love digital work, I love graphic work, a bunch of other different things. And if you were ever curious about my work, my website is jgreenartificial.com. Now this space here, this is our space. This is the communal space. Thepaintedfool.com is where you'll find me. I have a Discord server where you can join and just run your mouth with me and talk about things from technology to gaming to Netflix movie, whatever. It's an open field there. There on my website, thepaintedfool.com, you will find pretty much the rest of me and all of what this is. Okay, all right, let's just get into this thing. First and foremost, this entire documentary took me down memory lane. But before I begin, I want to first kind of show my history with Britney Spears, so that you can kind of get an idea. But I have to be super quick because I don't want a long video. So I was born in '88. I heard her single Baby One More Time. I think I had to have been 10 or 11. I never got the album because I wasn't that invested. I became invested in the Oops era. So I was born in Port Richmond, Philadelphia, and I was raised there until I was about 3 or 4. And then we moved over to Willingboro, New Jersey for the good part of my life until I was about 19. So I had my upbringing was primarily suburbs. I live in the suburbs now. My musical influence then and still to this day is it was a lot of pop, it was a lot of R&B, it was soul and gospel. Rap played a little part, but for me, it was heavy on the gospel. It was R&B, pop, and soul, and that was and jazz too. But as I got older, and my culture, the culture that was popular around the time was pop culture. That was the thing in my time. So it was big. We had that was the best era, quite frankly. We had the Tamagotchis, the Gigapets. We had those little CD things you would click in with I forgot what they were called, but we had those things. We had the big phones. That was a pretty dope era. But my primary musical influence was a lot of pop, Michael Jackson included. In Comes '98, In Comes a single, and it was everywhere. Not just, you couldn't escape it. So it grew on to you. The album came out. I didn't care for the album. I didn't buy the album. I never got any of her albums until the self-titled album, I think in 2001. But I began to fall in love with her though during the Oops, I Did It Again era. So that was the era where I was like, oh, I like her. Like she's pretty dope. I like this. So it started there for me. And then the self-titled album came out, right? Now that was the first album I've ever had. Now that was the album. Now I didn't buy it though. Let me tell you first of all how I even got the album. So remember, this is 2001. So if you're from my time, all of the certain jokes and things like it was a different time socially. So I was handed that CD in the boys' locker room in junior high school. Yeah, play that back. So that was it could have gone real crazy. It was different though. The energy was different. So certain jokes and things, it was taken lightly. It wasn't that deep, but it was funny. So anyway, that was the first album I got into. I liked it. I liked it just for that. Now, Slave for You was the song where everyone who secretly liked her could like showcase their love for her and the music because it had Pharrell behind it. So that song, I don't know not a single person who did not love that song. Now, in today's time, the title of that song, okay, the title of that song is different now. People ain't having the title of that song now. But back then, it was dope. I just liked her sound then because her sound was changing, and the Janet Jackson influence was strong. Remember, if you're from my era, the pop era was a major big deal. Oh my, like the things that are going through my mind right now, that whole entire era that we lived during that time, the millennium, yo, it was huge. Pop culture had a huge influence. I'm trying to keep it fast. So we fast forwarding to the whole Britney and the Madonna and the Christina thing. You know, of course we had that Britney and Christina rivalry. We had the Backstreet Boys. You had NSYNC. You had Mandy Moore. You had Jessica Simpson. We had some pretty dope. We had a dope ass roster in the pop culture back then. I mean, whatever. But Destiny's Child, like we had it good. So the Christina, Britney, and Madonna thing happened. That was big. We had Justin Timberlake. That was big. People still hate Justin Timberlake to this day because of how he's kind of like, it appeared that he kind of like wormed his way away from the scrutiny that Janet Jackson received when he ripped off her thing in the Super Bowl performance, and then in how Britney and his relationship ended at the time, and how he put the video out and kind of painted her. It was that, yo, I remember the magazine articles, I remember the conversations in school, like, it was a big deal. So, and then we had the Onyx Hotel tour, we had all her tours and stuff, and it was like, her career was huge. It was huge, and she was the focus, and everyone was like, I remember asking my parents for the album, and it was like, ain't no Britney Spears living up in here. My parents were, at the time, it was a heavy Christian influence. So, gospel, it was like gospel only and approved music only, that's it. No secular music up in here. So I'm trying to like fast forward through all like the major points. We had the Slave for You when the time it first hit the scene on the VMAs. We had all those moments in history that were huge. I don't know that many artists that had like those super huge performances that were on MTV. And this was back when MTV and BET played actual music. So all of my people who know this, they understand my excitement. They know, like, that was a crazy good era where it was just music. The remixes were not. The remixes then are not the same remixes as they are today. Remixes were actual remixes. Y'all know, y'all remember the Bootylicious remix? How the remix was one song and the whole remix for Bootylicious was totally different. Like, it was a totally different song. That's what we remember. That's what remixes were. Remixes now, not the same. Anyway, I'm jumping all over the place because I'm excited. Just know right now that I'm going to be every which direction in this because I'm hyped. This is my teenage years resurfacing, so cut me some slack. Okay, so now let's fast forward to the Kevin Federline 2006, 2007. She was big throughout this entire. This was the invention of the selfie, Paris Hilton era, like. That's high. Like, yo, this was that era of like all of that. Do you not understand like how pivotal and how crucial this is? Because all of the stuff that you see was influenced by the Britneys and the Parises of our time. So all of what you see this is what we know. So then we learned about the whole Kevin Federline stuff, and they, you know, it seemed okay, but you know, we saw the My Prerogative video and things got a little different, and we were like, okay, so she got pregnant and then she had the baby, things got really strange. Okay. The documentary covered parts of early on from her early youth all the way up until now. They talked about how when she made it big, she withdrew $10,000 and handed $100 bills to everyone in her neighborhood growing up. Dope. We were watching it to see them talk about the conservatorship, the Instagram posts, and just overall like what's next. I didn't even fully get into her life, like her paparazzi life in and of itself. I don't know too many artists outside of Michael Jackson that had paparazzi the way that they did. The paparazzi was crazy, and I'll get into the general populace or the fans that were just as bad, who the media or the show kind of like shifted and made the fans kind of see like how they were part of the problem too. But the paparazzi was a whole different beast. It was a whole different beast. And they were a huge part in how everything was beginning to just go upside down. So she sits down after she has the baby. She has an interview, and she's wearing like this pink something, and they were talking about how they caught pictures or video of her with Sean Preston at the time. Sean Preston is her first son, sitting in her lap. And she explained how she had paparazzi banging on her car, and she had to just leave, and it was just too much. So she left, but she had the baby in her lap, and they were calling her an unfit mother. In that interview, she cried and said she just wants she doesn't know what it will take for the paparazzi to leave her alone, and she does want them to leave her alone. The one paparazzi in this documentary was, yo, I'm trying to filter my words. In the podcast episode I talk about this, I didn't filter shit. But now the one paparazzi in the actual documentary tried to make it seem as if, now although they did show clips to kind of preface her relationship with the paparazzi early on, that she was just extra like, welcoming to them and kind. I think that attributed to her personality, that she was just a kind personality. But I don't want to speculate on a person. I don't do all that. I'm just saying. They try to preface it by saying, oh, she liked it. That's how she made it seem like to us. Like we had this relationship. We worked with each other. And I get it. Like while I get that, I get it. It was still like, So she says she wants the paparazzi to leave him alone. Now, eventually, she shaves the head, and that was a whole huge thing. The media blew that up for days, and that was a whole other thing in and of itself. It's alleged that Kevin wouldn't allow her to see her baby, and she had shaved her head that day. And she was in the passenger side of a car in the gas station. The same paparazzi dude was talking, asking her how she was doing while he's grabbing pictures of her. She clearly didn't look like she was in the best of moods. Eventually she gets out the car, grabs an umbrella, and messes up his car. They were trying to then mark her. They were beginning to kind of say that this is how she was spiraling. Side note, mental health then, and the emphasis on mental health, and how the media was like making jokes. Yo, the Family Feud episode was when, now I watched this whole documentary up until that point from like a detached kind of like an analytic space. I was kind of just watching it like, I wonder how they're going to portray, I wonder how they're going to do this. I was kind of watching it like, but when I saw the Family Feud thing, and I was like, okay, this is real, this is trash, like this is crazy trash. And then when I saw in that Diane Sawyer interview how, her name is Kendall Ehrlich, she said she would shoot Britney Spears just based off of how she's influencing the young girls. A lot of people say that, they kind of use that line, what about our young girls, as if parents don't have authority over what their children can and not. Crazy. But those were the two moments where I kind of got knocked off my cold analytical center. I was like, yo, this is crazy. Like, this is the shit that there was. A lot of the stuff that we saw in the documentary, we already knew. We saw a lot of the stuff. We knew this, but there were some things we never saw. Like for me, I never saw that Family Feud episode. I never saw that. And I never saw that part where the woman said she would shoot Britney. I've never seen that before, ever. And then the other thing that kind of like was striking to me was, I'm like, during the midst of her public spiral, how many people factored in postpartum depression? Like, how many people factored in that and was a bit more lenient and understanding? As a matter of fact, people were making jokes. And it's crazy to think of how, as good as that era was of our youth, of like the millennium era, it was also ruthless with those who were struggling with mental illness. Like, it was ruthless. They were making jokes, and it was everyone was making light of it. It's good that now we have a different point of our lives where we're putting more focus on mental health, and we're putting a focus on going to therapy, and we're not going, repeating the same old poor patterns from the older generations. But it was insane, to say the least. They talked about the Instagram post. They talked about the conservatorship. Now, the reason why I watched this to begin with was when I saw, for the first time ever, that in the court documents it read that she no longer wants her father to be the conservator. I said, okay, now I'm going to kind of watch this. I unfollow her Instagram because the posts were just a little strange to me, and I just didn't want to see that. You know how we have ourselves that are connected to a certain person. It was just too strange, and things just seemed strange, and the way that the fans were acting in the comments, I couldn't watch it. So I just unfollowed her, and I just want to see it. Until I saw that court document that she didn't want him to be conservator, her father to be conservator, I said, okay, You know, now although she did call him an asshole in the For the Record documentary, you know, that was typical like parent and child type of thing. But it just the way that it was, they began to paint, you know, the father in the documentary, I was like, interesting. They mentioned about his past issues with alcoholism, and it was just interesting. It was very interesting. But the documentary in and of itself, I don't think it did anything bad. I think what I've learned out of it, I became a bit more empathetic to the whole thing. I don't understand how people want fame. Like that's not. No, because you never know what you're going to get in these types of, you never know, like the type of, do you want fame at that magnitude? I don't think you do, to where you cannot live and there will probably be a point where you might end up becoming completely rebellious against the image or the brand that you were, you know, designed, or that was designed for you. Like you'll get tired of it, you know. Just watch it. I think it was good. It wasn't, I don't think it was a bad documentary. I think it did what it needed to do. It highlighted the movement, the people who were saying free Britney, and at the time I was like, yo, what is this? I can't speculate. I'm not gonna have any reaction until I see for myself that something just isn't right. And then I was beginning to see just weird things. Another issue in this has been the fans. It's the comments in the Instagram posts and just wear yellow if you're okay and do this if you're okay. Like sometimes, because we don't have the answers, we begin to speculate and we begin to just start throwing out all types of different things and symbols and stuff. And while I think that it was good that the fans made enough noise to where there was a documentary that came from it and there was a lot of attention brought to it, who knows what would happen in the future, you know. But I didn't get into everything I wanted to get into because I'm just excited. I get into a bit more in my podcast episode, so just check it out, listen to my podcast. And you'll hear more of what I had to say about it. But yo, from the lawyer down to the paparazzi, I knew Phoebe was going to be there. Sheesh, like it's been interesting. But you know, who knows what'll come to light? What if we learn later on that this is not what we thought it was to begin with? Like, what if something comes out totally different? Who knows? But whatever. Just listen to my podcast and just watch it if you didn't, and let me know what you think in the comments, or just hit me up. I provide all my contact information in the description box. If you like what you heard, please like, share, subscribe, hit all those notifications. Let me know what you think. I'm excited to hear your discourse, whatever. Let's chat. Until next time, I'm Painful and I'm out. Peace.